Today I will be doing the final part in my Streamer World election series. This will be part 5 or part 4 of like the actual series. So let me go on my channel so I can catch y'all up in case if you're just right now jumping into it. So first we started with Hazan versus Asmongold 2028 election, which let me say is my most popular video ever with 3,000 views. And we come here and we see that Hazan ends up winning it barely, 271 to 267 Asmongold. We then go to the 2032 election, part 2. And Hazan has a pretty bad term. The Democratic Party kind of turns against him, sort of what happened with Joe Biden, but not because of the reasons Joe Biden got kicked out. More, yes, his term just wasn't too good and was filled with tons of riots. So, but Hazan still wins the Democratic primaries. He's, but barely, but who barely loses is Atrioc. So he decides to run a third party, and he ends up actually getting more electoral votes than Hazan. Atrioc 169 to Hazan's 126, but Asmongold ends up getting the most electoral votes and is voted in by the Congress of the U.S. with 243 electoral votes. We then go to the 2036 election, where Atrioc finally wins the Democratic primaries. We have Ludwig running as a third party, who's seen as a conservative alternative to Asmongold, which does kind of hurt Asmongold's chances of winning this election, which does give the election to Atrioc. Now, Atrioc didn't actually get to 270 electoral votes, but he got enough electoral votes to where the Congress decided to vote him in. So now Asmongold is back, sort of what Trump did whenever Trump lost in 20 when Trump won in 2016, lost in 2020, but then came back to try to win again in 2024. And this time we have Ludwig running with Asmongold as his vice president, and we have Atrioc and Doug running together. So a lot has changed since the 2040 election or 2028 election. So will Atrioc be the first president in 12 years to get reelected, or will Asmongold come back to win his second term? So we'll go ahead and get started. So we'll get with Atrioc safe state. Of course, California's gotta be safe. And now let me tell you, it's been 16 years since the 2028 election. So politics of 2028 do not apply to this 2040 election. It's completely different. Oregon's more red in this scenario. A lot of stuff has changed. Also, Alaska becomes blue in this universe. New York still red, or actually no. Vermont still blue. A lot of Maine still blue. And because Atrioc was one of the most successful third parties of all time, a lot of people still kind of view him as this third party reviver. This this all around like sort of hero to people who hate the two party system. We'll move on to Asmongold and Ludwig safe states, which are still all of these super low population places. Nevada becomes safe red in this scenario because over the years, lobbyists and Vegas funding has went to Asmongold because they hate Atrioc, because Atrioc constantly talks about the problems with gambling and how it's affecting the youth. So all of their funding goes to Asmongold. They're supplying him with millions, even billions of dollars over the years to secure Nevada. So eventually, and also because of how low population Nevada is, eventually Asmongold and Ludwig are able to bring Nevada under the Republican spear, although it only goes to Asmongold and Ludwig by around like 6%. Texas will no longer be safe in this scenario. Florida is like safe. It's completely safe. Same with Ohio, South Carolina. Iowa starts to have its flip back. So now we get more into likely states, which Colorado's likely and starts shifting back to the right by this time. Hawaii's still safe. New Mexico is barely won by Atrioc. It's one of the swing states in this timeline. Going to Atrioc by around 2 or 3%. Atrioc's also able to win Arizona by around 3 to 4%. We also see Atrioc win Iowa by 1%. He's also able to win Georgia by around 2 3%. Of course, Asmongold is able to win North Carolina by around 1%. He's also able to win New Jersey by 1% and Virginia by around 1%. Atrioc then comes in and starts winning Pennsylvania by around 3%. New Hampshire becomes one of the safer Democratic states by this time, going to Atrioc by around 5 points. Of course, Asmongold will still take Texas, but only by around 5%. Atrioc, of course, takes this district of Maine too. We also see Atrioc take Minnesota by around 3 to 4%. Atrioc is also able to take Wisconsin and Michigan barely by around 1 point. Actually, Michigan starts, but Wisconsin starts to solidify itself as a Democratic state, going to Atrioc by around 2 to 3%. Atrioc starts to rebuild this blue wall. Now, New York started a swing state in this election. Asmongold has a very strong rat population in New York. The rats in New York absolutely love Asmongold. They love his dirty room, absolutely love him. But the rat population just isn't big enough in New York by this time, as new governors and mayors make it a priority to get rid of rats in New York, which does take out a lot of Asmongold's voter population. So giving the win to Atrioc by around 3 electoral votes. And now this will be the finale to my Streamer World election series, as we see a lot of politics has changed, and we see that Asmongold and Ludwig have been sent packing home, and Asmongold will now be kicked from the Republican Party. They're completely done with him, and Atrioc's more third-party ideas are the new light for the Democratic Streamer Party. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and peace out.